Okay. Hey guys, welcome to Talking Horror. Today I have a very special guest here, David Howard Thornton, the guy who plays Art the Clown, one of my favorite slashers. So please, David, introduce yourself. How did you get the part for Art and your beginnings as an actor?
Yeah, David Howard Thornton. I play Art the Clown in the movies Terrifier and the upcoming Terrifier 2 that we hope to release in the next year. We had a little bit of a delay because of the pandemic here, but we're making it work. But as for how I got the role, I just replied to a notice online that they were looking for an actor that was tall and skinny and had experience with physical comedy to play Art. And I was like, oh, this is perfect for me. I'd never done horror before. I'd never really done film before. I'd always done stage work. And I was like, well, this would be a great, way to get into doing film work. And this would be fun. So, hey, why not? Who knows? But it was, small independent film. So I was like, well, who knows if anybody will even see this thing? But it's worth a shot. And the rest is history. I went in there, had to improvise my whole entire audition on the spot. They told me to make up a scene where I knock out a guy and saw off his head, and I'm very happy about doing it. I'm like, okay. And so I did this whole scene where I cartoonishly sneak up behind him, knock him out, take off his head, taste the blood, don't like the taste of the blood. So I take a salt shaker out and season it. Taste it again, like give it the thumbs up, kind of bathe in the blood some, do a little happy dance, and I walked out on my merry way. And that's what got me the role.
That's incredible.
Yeah.
And how did you become an actor? You always had this dream, and
hmm
said that you were mostly working with comedy, right?
Correct. Yes, I was basically acting out of the womb. My parents were very involved with our church's theater when I was growing up, so I started off doing that. Then I started doing like school theater, and then I graduated to doing like local community theater, where I was really able to learn from really talented actors. I grew up in Alabama, Huntsville, Alabama, and here in the United States, whereas that's where NASA started. So it was an interesting city to grow up in, lots of people from all over. So I had a lot of people to learn from. But then I actually got a degree in teaching elementary school, and I decided because I was trying to be practical with my life. I was like, well, with a teaching salary, I can provide for a family and everything. And then I lost my mother while I was in college to cancer, so that changed my whole perspective about what I want to do with my life. And I was like, I like to entertain people. I like to bring people happiness. So why don't I do that for a living? Yeah, I know it might not be a stable career path, but who knows what it could lead to one day. It's like you only get one shot at life. Might as well go for what you want to really do. And so that's what I did. And I moved up to New York, and I struggled for about 13 years, having to wait tables and doing odd acting jobs here or there. And toured with How the Grinch Stole Christmas, the musical, for a while, for about 5 years. I was Grandpa Who, but I also understudied Stephen Carl, who was Robbie Rotten from Lazy Town, as the Grinch. So I learned a lot from Stephen. He was a master at physical comedy, so he really helped fine tune my skills. And so that's what led me to where I am today.
Oh, that's incredible. Um, and we have a tradition here. We usually ask the guests about the relationship with horror. And
Mhm.
are you a fan of the genre? Your favorite films?
Yes, yes, I was. I've pretty much been always a fan of horror, but I was kind of a little bit late to the game in a lot of ways because my mother was so afraid of horror films. So we had never watched them in my family. My dad would watch them, but he would stay up late and watch them on TV after everybody had gone to bed. So I was a little bit late to the game, but it was when Scream 2 came out when I was in high school, my senior year, and I was doing a show and the cast wanted to go out and see it. and there was a girl in my cast I had a crush on, and she's like, "Hey, you want to come out?" I'm like, "Oh yeah." So I went to go see it, and I was like, "Oh my god, I don't want to be such a chicken in front of this girl." But then I was like, "This is such a fun film." I was like, "I love this. What is my mom so afraid of? This is a fun genre. Yeah, it's scary, but in a fun way." And I'm like, "Oh, I want to do more of this." And so I started watching horror films when I got to college that next year, and like my roommate and I would go and like just rent stacks of tapes and watch them all weekend to really catch up on all the classics. So that's where ever since then I've really loved them. I just find them extremely entertaining.
That's cool. So,
Yeah.
talking a little bit more about Terrifier now, we have a very strong community here in Brazil, and the movie kind of got well known here
Hmm.
past 2018 or so, and we started to spread the word, and now we have a very strong community that loves. And I was just wondering, when you guys were filming the first one, did you expect it to be
Hmm.
this major thing that it did, or it was unexpected?
Oh, no. No, because we were trying to be honest with ourselves because we were a very, very low budget independent film. We made it for about $50,000. Most low budget films here in the United States are made for at least $5 million. At least. So there's like, we're like, who knows if anybody's gonna see this thing, It was like we didn't have a studio behind us or anything like that. We're just making for the fans of All Hallows Eve.
Sure.
And it took off. It just went, especially like, it took off originally, but like when Netflix picked us up, it
Yeah.
exploded. It's like, whoa, we did not, and it went international. We were like, really? And we were seeing like graffiti in different countries throughout the world of art, and I'm like, this is insane. So but I think that's kind of, with this character, he kind of can cross borders in that way because he's that silent character, so you really don't have to have dialogue with him, so he translates well across cultures.
That's perfect.
Yeah.
Um, and also you brought it up now. I would like to hear about your inspirations, to create this character, because me and my friends, we kind of joke about that he's a mixture of Michael Myers and Freddy,
Hmm.
kind of a jokey guy,
Oh, definitely.
very silent. So I would like to hear what you have brought, to create the character.
Yeah, I went to a lot of places to come up with my version of art. First of all, I did look at the original, great slasher icons, especially Freddy Krueger. He's a great inspiration for art. But there's a little bit of all those original horror icons in art. You see little bits and pieces of them, like Mike Myers and Jason, who's got that silent nature to him. He has the sadisticness of like Pinhead. He loves to just torture people. You have Freddy's humor and sadistic nature as well as Chucky's. You have Leatherface. He has that penchant for cannibalism. Wearing people's skin. So there's little bits and pieces of all those horror villains. But then I also looked at these great because he's a clown, and since he doesn't talk, he's got to be able to express his emotions and his intent in some way. And so I looked at clowns that came before me, like the great silent comedians and great silent clowns, like Charlie Chaplin and Buster Keaton and Harpo Marx, Mr. Bean. Then you had Jim Carrey and Doug Jones and my friend Stefan, who was an amazing physical actor. So I kind of, in my head, I kind of looked at art as being like the bastard child of Freddy Krueger and Krueger. I can't talk all of a sudden. It's a Monday. Freddy Krueger and Harpo Marx, and I was like, that's how I was like, oh, that's art. He's like their child, or like an evil Mr. Bean.
And that's what I love about the character, because since you have this comedy past, you bring a lot of, not just the creepy part, but it's also a very fun character to watch, and I think that's
Yeah.
to you because
Well, he's definitely charismatic, and I think that's what's been missing from so many horror characters for the past 2 decades or so. There is just another guy wearing a mask that, cocks his head to the side or something like that, and that's about it. There's nothing really interesting about them. There's not even like Mike Myers and Jason had some kind of charisma about them. But but you look at Freddy and he's just all charisma. It's just like, oh, you just want to watch him, and that's what I want to do with artists. Like I wanted to blend that silent nature of Jason and Mike Myers with the charisma that Freddy had. Where it's like, wow, you shouldn't be cheering for him, but you do because he's kind of lovable in a way, in a weird way.
sure. So I have a very my favorite scene of the film. Wait, did you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you.
Just okay. Now we're back.
Yeah, it's Zoom. Zoom does that from time to time.
And my favorite scene from the film is that the Saw scene. I
Yes.
really love that scene, and I would like to hear about how it was on the set. How did you do that, and how it was reading the script as well. Like, oh, I'm gonna saw this girl in half now.
Oh yeah. It's like when I read that in the script, that was I was like, wow, this is pretty graphic. And I even contacted Damien. It's like, are you just saying that this is what's gonna happen and it's just subtext, or are you gonna really show this? And he's like, oh, we're gonna show that. I'm like, oh, wow, because most films now they don't show the kill happening. They show the before and the after, but they don't show you the actual kill. And I'm like, oh my gosh, this is awesome. I'm totally on board. This is nuts. We're like, this is gonna get people talking. And that's how we looked at it. It's like we were like, this is gonna be the scene everybody talks about. So we wanted to do it right. And it took a while. We had to film all of the girl that plays Tara, Jenna Cannell. She had to leave us early because she had to go film another film called The Bye Bye Man. Like literally 2 days later, she was on set with Bye Bye Man. So we had to film her stuff first, and then we had to change locations because we had some snafu with the location we were originally filming at. So it was a few months later we had to film all the stuff with Catherine, who played Dawn, and that ended up being in January here in New York City, and it was about 20 degrees that night we were filming. So and we had no heat in that room, and so that was miserable. And she's really hanging upside down. There was no like weird camera work. That was really her hanging upside down naked like that, and that was not fun for her. We would only let her hang upside down for about 30 seconds at a time, then we'd swing her back up just for safety reasons, because the human body's not supposed to be upside down that long. It is not good for you. And so that was a very, very stressful night because it was such a dangerous stunt that we're doing. And so that was like probably the one night we weren't goofing around and having laughs on set because we knew how dangerous this was. But we got it done. We did that. And then we came in another day and we filmed all the prosthetics where I actually saw the body in half, where you see me sawing through. That was a whole full, full body prosthetic they did of Catherine. They did a mold of her and made it out of gelatin and foam, and I got to really saw through that thing. So that was fun. That was the fun part of it.
Incredible. Um, and I would like to know about your relationship with him and how it is to work with him. You guys are friends in real life?
Oh yeah, we're almost brothers now, I would say. Because he does all my makeup. So we've spent hundreds of hours together just in the makeup chair alone. So we've really gotten to know each other, and it's like he is like one of the most easygoing people you would ever know. He comes up with these sick, twisted things, and you would think he would just be crazy. But he is like the most mild mannered, just laid back, chill guy, just so sweet. You're like, wow, you come up with this stuff, you of all people. And he is so easy to work with. It's like, and everybody on the set is the same way. Everybody's just so easygoing. We all have fun together. It's like, it's not what you would expect on a set where so much violence and mayhem's happening. We're all joking around and having fun, even though we're on like hour 16 or something of the day and we're all exhausted, we're still having fun.
I heard that you guys are, thinking about a trilogy for Terrifier. Is that right?
Yes. Yeah, that's always been Damien's goal for this is at least a trilogy because he had a whole entire story arc he wanted to do with the character. So yeah, we definitely want to make a part three, but we have to finish part two first. But we already have some awesome ideas for part three that we're very excited about.
But do you see the character going further? And would you be willing to do more than three?
Oh, of course. I mean, that's what I love about this character, and the way we plan to end part three, we've already come up with the ending, and it's the kind of ending where it could, if it was just a trilogy, that would be a perfect ending to those type of movies. But it's also kind of lends itself open to, yeah, we could still bring him back if we wanted to, and that's the thing. Is like this character could do so many things. There's so many possibilities with him. It's like as long as we can come up with some fun stories to tell with him that aren't just like Jason goes to space type of stuff. I'm totally on board to come back and doing more with him because I love the character so much.
And would you be involved even if Damon isn't? Like some other studio bringing a pretty.
Yeah. I mean, I think Damien would have to be involved in some shape or form because this is his creation. This is his baby. So yeah. So that would be one of those things that I would want his seal of approval over anything.
So could you tell us anything about the the sequel surrounding the plot that we don't get in the trailer? Anything that can tease us.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I will say that this is a much bigger movie than the first one. It's bigger and bolder. We've swung for the fences in this. We just have it's such a fun film. And we're not pulling back at all with what we've already done. I would say the kills are much bigger than the first one because we're like, okay, we got to top the hacksaw scene. How can we do that? We don't know if we can necessarily top that in shock value, but I think we're managing to do some things that are on par with that. So it's just that's the you don't really see the kill scenes at all in the trailer, and there's so many other scenes that you don't see at all in the trailer too. Characters that you don't even see in the trailer that we're trying to keep under wraps right now as well. So it's really exciting, but it's not we're doing a more a narrative this time with it. Where there's more of a plot element to it. There's a reason Art is going after this one girl and her family. So he does have a mission in this one, and it's not just his movie; it's her movie as well. This is where we're really setting up this protagonist that can actually go toe to toe with Art. I consider her the Batman to his Joker in that regard, and so she's not your typical final girl. She's not that little save me type of, I'm just going to run away. She's an ass kicker, and you see her become that ass kicker, and she's a very Ellen Ripley or very Sarah Connor type of character, and I love it. And she's got such a great relationship with her brother as well in this movie. So I think that's a really cool thing that we explore in this. He's a very Tommy Jarvis type of character too, so it's fun. There's lots of little homages to past films, horror films in this as well. We want to keep on doing these films as a love letter to the genre in that regard.
And I heard that Damon already knows where Art come from. All the origin story. And
Yes.
I don't know if you can tell us, but anything about that as well would be gold.
I can't really tell you too much there because I think we're going to explore that more in part three
Oh,
than we are doing in part. We offer some little clues here or there if you know where to look in part two. And he had originally had written a scene in part two that was going to take place at the very beginning of the film, but it just didn't work as in a narrative way. So we're saving that scene for part three that explores more of his origins and everything like that.
sure. And if you had to choose another franchise or another horror film that you would play Art, with another like Freddy versus Jason,
Hmm.
that way. If you had to choose a franchise or a horror film or a slasher, who would it be? What would it be?
Oh wow. I mean, a lot of people would say it. People always are comparing Art and Pennywise and stuff like that. But there's a lesser known uh killer clown movie that a lot of people don't know about, and it's made by Billy Pond called Circus of the Dead. And the main character in that is Papa Corn, and he and Art kind of resemble each other, but they're so much different in so many ways. But they're so sadistic too. They're it would be fun to see those two team up together because they have their own things, and but it would just be an interesting head to head thing with those guys.
Cool. And changing the subject a little, what is your biggest goal as an actor? And if you had to choose any director that is working right now, and
Hmm.
any dream director, who would it be?
Well, my goal is just to continue, working. And that's just like, I don't have to have big, huge lead roles or anything like that. I just want to be able to continue entertaining people and, make a living off of it. It's like, as they say, when you can find a job that is, you get paid for doing what you love, it's not a job. And that's exactly what this is for me. And it's like I found a way to actually profit off of something I just love doing, and it's the best thing in the world. So I just want to continue doing that. I mean, I love doing film. I love doing voiceover work for cartoons and stuff like that. That's something I really enjoy doing as well. Stage work, any of that. I'm happy to work wherever. So that's all I really care about. It's like if I can keep doing that, I'm happy. I'm happy. As for directors, I would love to work with, of course, Damien, obviously, but I really enjoy, Tim Burton. I really enjoy Guillermo del Toro. I think he's got such a creative. Both of those guys are very, very creative. They think differently than so many people. So I would really enjoy working with those guys.
Sure. And we have another tradition here, also in the in the end of our conversations, we usually ask about their favorite slashers, and to you to recommend
Mhm.
a horror film for the guys who are watching, and that's it. Wait, I don't.
Uh, well, we're gonna go with slashers. Say my favorite series of slashers. Oh, okay. I'd say my favorite series of slash, of course, like Scream, Halloween, or like runners up, I would say as well. But as for movies that I would recommend that maybe some people have not seen, I would say number one, Circus of the Dead. That's a very very interesting film. It's not as well known. And I believe Billy is working on a sequel to it, so I'm excited to see that as well. And I would say also I really enjoyed the movie The Final Girls, which is it's if you love slashers, that does a fun thing with the slasher genre, a very creative twist on the genre. And I would say the third one I really enjoyed was The Babysitter.
Incredible.
I think that's a fun one too. It takes some tropes and switches it on its head, like like the characters that are usually the victims in horror films are the bad guys in this, like the jock and the cheerleader and the nerd and all. I'm like, and I thought it was a fun concept. I was like, yeah, this is great. I like seeing people doing some creative things like that with horror.
And there's a sequel coming up in September, if I'm not mistaken.
Oh, really? Oh, I knew they were making a sequel. I didn't know it was coming out that soon. Oh, that's fantastic.
So I think
Oh, that makes me happy.
um, thank you so much again for this interview. I mean, I don't have a lot of questions. This is one of my first times interviewing someone, and I'm pretty nervous.
Oh,
But thank you for
well,
the.
you did fantastic.
Okay, thank you, David, once again. Really love your job.
Oh, you're very welcome.
Hope you get really well known after Terrifier 2. And I love you. Thank you.
Oh, here's hoping. Oh, thank you very much. Thank you very, very much. And and thank you for your support as well. And and just thank you. You have a very, very great day and all that fun stuff. Stay safe out there because I understand the virus is pretty bad down there in Brazil right now too, like it is here. So take good care of yourself.
You too.
Yes. Thank you. Take care.